guys, and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dreamstar Fighting Marigold. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I'm joined as ever by the man with the best hair on this podcast. It is, of course, Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, it's been quite the day, hasn't it, with Marigold in Shinjuku FACE, and of course, Nanae Takahashi announcing that she will be retiring from professional wrestling after 28 years.
Yeah, as we're recording this, that big show just happened this morning. We will not be reviewing said show because I didn't get to the entire show. So next week's episode will probably be a one-show review, but a fantastic one show. So I know Rob, I think, just finished the show. I think I have all but one or two matches left. So it might be getting the Marigold Standard 2 episodes in 4 or 5 days. We shall see. But no, it's been a day. It's a great day. Today, as we're recording, is Friday the 13th as well. So everybody,
of course,
be careful out there. And it is my last full work week of the year, as I have a few half days and some full days next week, and then it is truly the most wonderful time of the year, my man. But what a better way to end my work week and start my weekend than talking about some fantastic Marigold wrestling with my good friend, Mr. Rob Goodwin. Rob Goodwin, how are we doing on this wonderful Friday?
I am very, very good. I was just saying to you before we started recording, I don't know why I look so grey on this camera angle, so I can only apologize if you're watching on YouTube. I swear I am alive and haven't been a recently dug up corpse. It just appears that that's what I'm looking like today. But yes, we won't be talking in detail about the Shinjuku FACE show. We will be talking about elements of the Shinjuku FACE show simply because there are things that need to be spoken about, as I've already spoken about Nanae's announcement of her retirement, which we'll be talking about during the news segment, and sort of going into a few details in regards to the attendance to that show, which was their second sellout in 3 shows, which is tremendous considering the discourse that has been going on around the attendances in Marigold. I think that's a really, really, really good thing to talk about. The 3 crowds were incredibly hot. That Shinjuku crowd today, absolutely molten hot, as were the ones from Osaka 176 box as well. I feel like Marigold have been on something of a roll over the last 3 shows. Everybody seems to be just feeling it, connecting with the matches, to the point where even Rhea Sato, who is, and I don't mean even Rhea Sato in a disparaging way, but even her matches, it's like, where has this come from? So very exciting times as we head into their final Korakuen Hall show on the 26th of December. And, of course, First Stream as well.
Yeah, really great stuff from Marigold. We made mention that, and you just talked about a partner, that the attendances the last few shows were kind of like, you're kind of scratching your head because the talent's there, the booking's there. They're doing a great job building certain things up. But where are the people? Where are they? Well, they are in the 176 box. They were in Shinjuku. Yes, these 2 shows we're going to review: packed houses, loud houses, and then yes, the show from today in Shinjuku. That was, I believe, they said it was a sellout, and they were rocking and rolling. So I think now Marigold is on that roll, my friend. Marigold looks like they're on that run. I'm so happy. When I first started up this show at 176 box, and as soon as they panned back, I looked like there wasn't an empty seat there, and I was like, okay, here we go. So, I made mention maybe about a month or so ago, it's only a matter of time before they start filling seats because of just how great everything is. So, but I apologize, my friend. I did tell you this is going to happen off the air. I do need to tag out to take care of something. It might be one of several times today. So I'll be back as soon as possible.
No problem. What we're going to do is, ladies and gentlemen, every time Matt needs to tag out, we'll pause. So we won't mention it in future. I'm really intrigued to see if you will be able to see where the pauses are during the final podcast. So we'll be back momentarily. And we're back just like that. It's like you never left, Mr. Turner. But yeah, like you said, it feels like it's been a good couple of weeks for Marigold, obviously, as we barrel towards First Stream. We talked on the Stardom cast about the fact that Seiri Yamaoka, her debut opponent has been announced. It's going to be Mirai, so that's another match announced for First Stream. And Something that's quite interesting, obviously, I said we weren't going to talk much about the Shinjuku FACE show. If you haven't already seen it, I'd suggest just maybe not listening to this podcast until you have, because we are going to be doing a little bit of referencing of things. But we did have, so Colin, big friend of the show and patron over at the Stormcast Extra. Colin said about how the booking of Mirai was something that was really getting at him, and obviously we know that the first ever title change in Marigold happened today. The Twin Star titles are now property of the Dark Wolf Army, which apparently is their official name. And I was thinking about this. I was thinking about Mirai, and I actually, even though on the face of it, I can see it being a little bit frustrating for Mirai fans, hasn't been in the main title picture, has been the tag champion and now has lost that tag belt, hasn't got a major title match in terms of Otaward City Gym. However, from my standpoint, you look at where she was in Stardom, and I think we've said this before on the podcast. I'm not sure she'd have been a World of Stardom champion. I don't. I'd be very, very surprised. I think she would have challenged again. Obviously, we saw her challenge Fury. I don't think she'd have held the top belt in Stardom, and that's no disrespect for her. It's just sort of testament to the talent at the top of the card in Stardom. I think she was stagnating a little bit in Stardom. We've spoken about it multiple times that of everyone that has come over from Stardom to Marigold, I would argue the two that have benefited the most are Mai Sakurai and Mirai. The difference in Mirai is like she had a weight lifted off her shoulders, and now actually looking ahead, I would argue that she is almost nailed on to be a Marigold World Champion at some point, to be the face of that company at some point. But also, she's more of a senior locker room leader now in Marigold. She is, she's doing the training in the dojo. It's her that is being asked to wrestle these rookies to start off with. She wrestled Komomo Minami in her debut match. She's wrestling Sari Yamaoka at First Dream in her debut match. Yes, she may not have been catapulted into that main event scene straight away. But when you are trying to build a company, you are trying to elevate other stars. And I feel like not putting Mirai straight away as the white belt champion has really benefited the likes of Koki Amare, Miko Aono, Natsumi Shozuki, really allowing them to be pushed to the top of the card as well, because otherwise it would have just been Utami and Mirai. And I feel like Marigold have actually done a really good job of building other stars. Now, if we are in this, if we're having this conversation in December 2025 and Mirai hasn't had a single title match since, we might be having a different conversation. But for now, I would argue that the booking of Mirai, yes, on the face of it, you would have expected her to have a singles title match, held one. However, I would argue that I think her booking has been pretty good, especially as you are trying to elevate the rest of the roster at the same time, Matt.
Good things come to those who wait, my friend, and especially you, Colin. I know. Again, we got a message today on our Patreon. He's a massive Mirai fan. That's who isn't. Mirai is
exactly.
Mirai is my dad's a fan of Mirai. He'd never seen her wrestle before, just by listening on the podcast. He loved our interview with Mirai. Said, "Oh, she hits hard. That's right up his alley." But I get your point. And kudos again to your fantasy booking with Mirai taking on the lauded rookie. This is like 3 in a row that you had, my friend. You called that one. You did call Cup High Mate versus Team 200K. And we'll get into a little bit. You are predicting Fuki and Death in the Tokyo Dome, which again we'll get into it. You did. You sent me that text message earlier today, my man. So we'll get into that in a moment. Yeah, you can't push everybody all the time. You can't, like we're trying to get Miko Ano over, right? Done. Worked, right? Fantastic. They had those 3 series of matches that were terrific, and then she defeated Mirai at Summer Destiny, and then got the shock win over Bozilla, and they're doing a great job elevating her. We're doing a great job elevating Koki Amare, which might be one of the many reasons why these last 3 shows were darn near sellouts or were sellouts because of now we're pushing other stars other than Utami, and Mirai did that. Kokiamari's biggest big win that she had over this last 4 or 5 months was that match that she had at the Dreamstar Grand Prix against Mirai in a fantastic match. So Mirai right now is just helping catapult other wrestlers. Even Mai Sakurai, her tag partner. I don't think Mai Sakurai would be, I mean, Sakurai's done a great job elevating herself, betting on herself and making herself a bigger star. The match she had with Julia in Julia's final singles match before she went over to the WWE and NXT, that helped her a lot too. But this tag team with Mirai has helped elevate Mai Sakurai up to that maybe number 2A or 2B level behind Utami Hayashishita. So Mirai's job right now is just helping elevate other talent and having great matches. Rob Goodwin, guess what she's been doing? Elevating other talent and having great matches. There will be a point in time where, yes, maybe she will hold that. She will probably hold the white belt, the pure white belt. Maybe she might be next in line. Or we have been seeing some cracks in the armor. And obviously we'll talk about it next week with Mirai and Mai Sakurai. What if Mai Sakurai does defeat Miko Ano at First Dream, and then they build 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 month program with Mirai and Mai Sakurai, where Mirai eventually does get the pure white belt champion? That's a possibility. And then a lot of us are under the assumption that Utami does walk away First Dream as the world of Marigold red belt champion. What a great V2, great V3 in maybe a Korakuen Hall would Mirai be against Utami? Because remember, Mirai did defeat Utami in the Dreamstar in Korakuen Hall. So there's a lot of positives going with Mirai going towards the end of this year, beginning of next year. So don't lose all hope. Stay positive. You can't push everybody all the time, but Mirai will eventually be there. But you're absolutely right. In a year from now, not unless something crazy happens, if Mirai has not had a big singles win or a big singles title opportunity, then we're having another conversation. But I'm willing to bet a few Las Vegas beers, my friend, a few Las Vegas beers that Mirai, actually it'll be, by this time next year, it'll be a few Tokyo beers.
It will.
Yes, maybe Sapporo beers, my man.
Maybe we are the new Cup High mate. Maybe.
Oh, look at that. But you're as tall as Hanako, and I'm as powerful as Micah. So there we go.
There you go.
But no, I think Mirai is she's going to have a fantastic 2025. So Colin, my man, just relax, buddy. Just relax. We got you. We got your back. We agree with you.
Mirai is 25 as well. It's not like she hasn't got lots and lots of time left. And again, she is wrestling in a brand new company. And, I think her role was very much to be taken on as a senior member of that roster and to aid in the development of that roster. And yes, at the moment, she isn't a title holder. Spoilers for Shinjuku. But, you look at her and Mai Sakurai's title matches, did a great job against Celine Flora, for example, did a great job against the Twin Towers. And, through matches with her, like Matt said, she has been elevating talent. And after all, we are one dream star into Marigold's history. I imagine that we will be talking about Mirai in the next 2-3 years as a Dreamstar Grand Prix winner. I don't have any doubt, at least a finalist. I imagine that, we will be talking about her as a white belt champion, as a red belt champion. Mai Iwatani has had years where she hasn't had title matches. She's had a really poor record. Even this year, we've seen her not get 6 points in the tag league. We've seen spells of all wrestlers who haven't necessarily been at the top. And plus, the final thing that I just want to talk about this, because I do understand where Colin is coming from. As a fan of a wrestler, of course you want to see them do well. Of course you want to see them at the top of the company. But if she'd have gone in to Marigold and hit straight at the top, the only way is down. What is there left to achieve for Mirai if she hits it all first? Okay? We did it with Utami. I think everyone assumed that it would be Utami or Julia as the first Marigold World Champion. But if they did that, we haven't got the caliber of challenger yet. And now I'd argue that we have the caliber of challenger to make these reigns something special. So, like Matt said, don't worry too much, Colin. It will all be fine. Let's kick into some news then. And the first thing, the most important thing I think we're going to talk about is Tokyo Dome Clown. No, we're obviously going to talk about the retirement of Nanae Takahashi, who announced today after losing to Sari that she would be retiring from pro wrestling on May 20th, 2025, which of course is the first year anniversary of Marigold, this company that she has helped build. 28-year career. Nanae Takahashi, 48 years old, has won physically everything there is to win. And just to give you a little list of her accolades, because it really does read like just a who's who of championships. She was the last person to hold All Japan Women's fabled WWWA World Championship, the red belt on which the World of Stardom Championship was based. She was the first World of Stardom champion, still has the record for the longest reign with that belt at 602 days. Three-time Goddess of Stardom Tag Championship winner. She's won every title in ceiling. I say every title, there's only two, but you get my drift. She's won tag titles in Neo. She's won the JWP open weight champion. Everywhere she has gone, she has been a champion. And it's not just about title belts for Nanae. She has been a stalwart since her debut in 1996, where she actually made her debut in Sapporo in a 5-minute time limit draw against Saya Endo. And she sort of carried on from there. 2,290 matches she's had since, with 1,151 victories. And like I mentioned, it's not just titles that we're talking about in terms of Nanae's career. Forming companies, helped to form Stardom, formed Seedling, helped to form Marigold, tournament wins. She won the 1998 and 2003 Tag League the Best in All Japan, the junior section of the Japan Grand Prix in All Japan. She won the actual Japan Grand Prix, the senior division in 2002, the Neo Japan Cup in 2008. She's won the 5-star Grand Prix. She's won the Goddess of Stardom Tag League twice. It's a storied career for Nanae. And her run in Marigold, it might have only been, I think she's wrestled 34 matches in Marigold so far. Yes, it may have been a relatively short run, but we've talked about on this podcast before about how she has been doing some of her best work on this roster. And this match she has against Sari on today's show is up there as Marigold's match of the year. It is an absolutely bombastic, brutal affair. Fantastic. I can't wait to talk about that with you next week. But her help has helped to get the likes of Nao Ishikawa over. However, I do feel like with the accumulation of injuries, we have seen her pulled off different cards due to poor health, due to, injuries. And then obviously this final injury that she sustained on the 2nd of November from that Uranagi from Sari. I did start to wonder if maybe Nanae was reaching the end. She's 48 years old. Okay. Your body doesn't necessarily heal at that age in the way it did when you were 25, 30, 35. And once she come back from that injury, she had this time match. I did think that we might be getting this retirement announcement. Back in August, she did actually say that she was going to be stripping back her schedule. It was even before that. It was before that, actually. And then she got entered into the Dreamstar and had a fantastic Dreamstar Grand Prix as well. So she didn't seem to slow down, even though she was telling everyone she was going to slow down. It's a sad moment for Marigold fans. Obviously, you don't want to see people retire, and Nanae has been one of the brightest lights on these early Marigold shows, whether it's a tag team as the Passion Sisters, whether it's at the top of the card against Utami at Korakuen, against Sari in the Dreamstar Grand Prix, Miko Aono in the Dreamstar Grand Prix, and matches with Bozilla, which have been fantastic. The match with Sari today, she has done everything and more that could have possibly been asked of her. And she is going to go down in history as one of the greatest Joshi wrestlers. The fact that we're losing both her and Meiko Satomura in the same year, just a couple of months after we lose Arisa Nakajima, it does feel like a lot all at once, but the fact that she has been able to dictate her own end is always, always a good thing, because in pro wrestling, that is upsettingly rare, you being able to dictate when you are able to retire. So the fact that she is able to do it on the first anniversary of this company that she has helped set up, I feel personally is perfect. It really is.
Yeah, and don't forget the next year, Tanahashi and John Cena. So it just seems like
everyone's going, man.
Yeah, and Sting retired back in March. I think it was March. So it's like that's
Mayu's been retiring since 2016.
I know. Rob threatens to retire anytime something really good happens with this podcast, which has been a lot lately. He's like, if we do that, I can retire. I'm like, you got too much work to do. You're not retiring. But how much more can I say, my man? You gave a lot of great stats and a lot of really, really great facts there. But you're absolutely right. Probably no Stardom without Nanae. Probably no Seedling without Nanae. Nanae. Marigold, it seemed like it was kind of built off like Julia and Utami wanting to leave and then kind of going from there. But I'm sure Rossi consulted Nanae for her to come in. And again, this year that she's had, it's the best year that she's had in wrestling as far as work-wise goes in years and years and years. You made mention the match with Utami at Cork and Hall, those great series of matches she's had with Bozilla, the Sari matches, and the Miko Ano match in the Dreamstar Grand Prix. And I think me and you both had her on as the MVP, our MVP of the Dreamstar Grand Prix. So it's, what a career. What a great way to wind things down with this. Again, I haven't seen it, but you text me as soon as you got done watching it, like this might be Marigold's best match in their short history. So I'm literally, as soon as we get done recording, recording this, I'm going to go watch that match. I think that's next on my docket. So, you're absolutely right. There's not a lot of wrestlers. You go through the list of wrestlers that was there this last match. You go through the legends and legends that I've been watching over the last 30, 35 years. And it's like, I don't know what their last match was. Like, I don't know. There's very few that go out on their own shield. Shawn Michaels, Kenta Kobashi. There's very, very few that go out. Like, look, what was Terry Funk's last match? I don't know. Mick Foley's last match? I don't know. Like, there's very few wrestlers that can kind of go out on their own doing. We saw Sting do it, and it was great, and it was brilliant. The fact that we're going to get, 5 more months of Nanae Takahashi is, it's her swan song. It's her swan song, and she's going to go out on the top of her game. And my only hope is that she sticks on with Marigold as like a producer and agent training in the dojo. Hopefully, because you can see the influence in Naomi Ishikawa. You can see these rookies coming up so fast, so quick. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Nanae is coaching them, not only in the dojo, but probably before and after their matches as well. So, what the one thing with wrestling or just any sport is after your time has come where you can't take the blows anymore, you can still help out in a certain aspect, passing down your knowledge. And I think that's the role that Nanae is going to have, come the end of the spring after she retires. And I hope that's the way that it is, because the world of professional wrestling, especially Joshi, can benefit a lot with Nanae still being there, helping the young talent out. Again, whether it's as an agent, a producer, helping booking, commentary, or helping training in the dojo. That's something that she can do for a long, long time, where she doesn't have to go and take these crazy bumps that she's doing in her late 40s. So God bless her. But really at the end of the day, all we can say is, thank you to just what a wonderful, wonderful career. And Rob, I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. What do you think is going to be her last match? You think it's going to be
I was going to ask you this.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, then volley back to me. I think it's going to be, I like it when they do the multi-person matches. Like I always say, like Kenta Kobashi had one of the best retirements ever, because
agreed.
Obviously you'd want Kawada to be there, but Kawada was so beat up and so injured and so burnt out that he could barely make the ring. And obviously he would like Misawa to be there, but obviously Misawa unfortunately passed away. Sorry, the Batmobile was going by my house, as you might be able to kill.
It really is.
Yeah, look out. I've been Jerry Lawler in there. He owns the Batmobile. But what's up, King? But that's the way that I would go with it. And I don't know who she really feuded with in the 90s and the early 2000s, Yoshiko. I think would be great to come back. It would be great maybe to see some of the Stardom wrestlers maybe come in for this. Maybe you do this for Nanae, maybe Mayu comes in for it. I think that would be terrific. I'd love to see Momo Watanabe. I think that would be terrific. You have a Utami in there, maybe a Julia comes in, maybe a Kairi. Oh, definitely a Kairi. Now that I said for 7 Kairi, I consider the fact that Marigold does have a great working relationship with the WWE. I think that's one thing that you'd want. You'd want to have Kairi in that match and on Nanae's team. So I'm going to guess it's going to be like an 8-person or 10-person. So this way you get as much goodbyes as you can. You get that feel good story. But I would love to see Kairi. But I think you have Utami in there, possibly Julia, maybe a Mirai, whoever your big stars are, to make that match as memorable as possible. My guess is I'd put a few bucks, not much, a few bucks at Kairi, is as long as she's available. I think she'll be there for the final Nanae Takahashi match.
I think it might be wishful thinking to have the Stardom wrestlers in there. From speaking from my heart, I would love to see, the likes of Mayu in there, because I know that Mayu has said in interviews about, especially early on in her career, how much Nanae helped her. I don't think that happens. In fact, I'd put a lot of my money on that not happening. So looking at what else she can do, I think Kairi is a great shout. If Marigold can do that, and it is a big if, I think that would be great. I think that'd be a perfect way to go. I am completely in agreement with you that it should be a multi-woman. Obviously, there will be a last Nanae singles match. Of course, there will. Who that will be against, that's another really, really, really good thing that you can think about. I'd love to have seen that be Julia, but obviously not. I would love to see Arisa Nakajima involved in Nanae's final match. Again, obviously that's not going to happen because she will have retired. Maybe have Sari in there as well, because we saw at the end of the main event, the embrace, and we know that they have history together. I think Kairi would be perfect. Maybe have Natsumi Shozuki on the other side, because obviously she was there even fleetingly. She was there when Nanae was Red Belt champion. So again, it's sad, but also looking at the positive. I think if you have the option, Marigold would be daft not to utilize Nanae Takahashi as someone in the dojo. Training the rookies, being there as, in her words, the passion backstage. She's that person who has seen it all, done it all, that you need, that people can go to. And when we interviewed Awesome Kong, she said about how even after her matches, even then, she was going back and she was analyzing those matches. And sometimes that's exactly what you need, especially if you're early in your career. So that could be something really, really good. And hell, maybe the last singles match of Nanae's career is now Ishikawa finally getting that victory.
That's what I was thinking. I think that needs to, whether it's the last singles match of her career or something coming up in the next 4 or 5 months. I think that now Ishikawa getting a clean win over Nanae Takahashi in Korakuen Hall. I think that would be the real boost that now Ishikawa would need to maybe getting, up in the upper mid card to main event level. I think it's the perfect opportunity and just really the perfect exclamation point to what's been a really, really good story between the Passion Sisters.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen Fuka Kakimoto.
Twin Star Championship run.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, she has nothing going on at First Dream. So, potentially we could see something big there. Maybe they are who challenge the Dark Wolf Army. We'll see. Obviously, lots and lots of different things that we can talk about with Nanae. Fuka Kakimoto, like I was saying, is, she's done a lot of commentary. Maybe Nanae is someone that we see take over that mantle. Or maybe it'll be Fuka Kakimoto's kids, who just seem to love the commentary booth. It's always really funny to see Fuka doing a commentary and then her kids come onto camera and wave. By the way, shout out to... Yeah, exactly. That seem like the nicest kids. And then apparently Kimomo Minami is responsible for entertaining them backstage and apparently is really good at it. So big shout out to Kimomo Minami as well. It just made me laugh, that did.
Marigold, put that on your YouTube channel. I want to see Kimomo Minami babysitting. There are
photos. There are photos. There are photos on their Twitter page of her sitting with the kids. But yeah, it is entertaining. So yeah, it is adorable. But yes, obviously, Nanae, we wish you nothing but the best. Hope you enjoy this retirement road. Hell, maybe we see Nanae and Meiko Satomura in the same ring. Stranger things have happened.
Vegas,
Moving on
baby.
then.
Vegas,
Oh,
baby. I'm booking it. I'm booking it. Vegas, baby.
I must admit, and this is a very selfish thing for me to do, I did check just to make sure, to triple make sure that this was after Vegas. I was like, please, because if Marigold do a meet and greet with their Vegas show, which I'm, fingers crossed they do, if I get to meet Nanae, that'll be a big thing to tick off the list. The stuff that she's done, a very inspiring battle with mental health, which I think she's been very, very vocal about recently. And that's really inspiring as well, because it's not something that's easy to talk about, even, irrespective of gender, irrespective of age, irrespective of language. So the fact that she speaks so openly about it is very inspiring, aside from her wrestling accolades. So if I get to speak to her, that would be fantastic. So bring her over, Marigold, please. And maybe bring out a Nanae baseball jersey. There you go. Maybe like a legacy one. I feel like that'd be really good.
Oh, good thinking.
It'd be lime green. It'd be lime green and orange. But even so, it would be great.
It'd be loud.
It would be the
Loud
ugliest
colors.
thing, but I'd buy 5 of them. Moving on from Nanae then. I thought we were done with tournament season. It turns out we are not, because Marigold have announced the first ever Twin Star Cup tag team tournament. And Matt, I'm not going to lie, my heart stopped a little bit, because even though tournament wrestling and tournament season is tremendous, 5-star, Dream Star, Goddess of Storm Tag League, G1 Climax, all happens in a very condensed area. But it is a busy, busy time when you do a weekly podcast that incorporates a lot of those tournaments. And we've just finished with the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League. And I saw this announced. I was like, I can't. I don't think I can. Thankfully, it is a one-night tournament. So thank you, Marigold. This has been announced for the 20th of December in Sendai Pit. It is an 8-woman single elimination tournament. It will happen, as I mentioned, on the 20th of December, which is a week today in Sendai Pit. In fact, it is the next Marigold show as we record. The teams then are as follows. We have got the brand new Twin Star champions, Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki. We have got Celine Flora, Kazuna Tanaka, and Victoria Yuzuki. We have got Nao Ishikawa and Ryo Sato. We have got Natsumi Shozuki and Misa Matsui. That's going to be a very interesting matchup. Chika Goto and Miku Aono, the former champions, Mirai and Mai Sakurai, Bozilla and Myla Grace, and then Koki Amare and Utami Hayashishita. I'll go through the matchups in a moment. It's an orthodox elimination format. Brackets haven't officially been announced, but the first round matchups have a 15-minute time limit for each of these matches, with a draw of any kind, whether that's count out, time limit, whatever. It will be a double elimination. So it's very similar to the Cinderella tournament without the over-the-top rules. Also confirmed for that, we talked about this on the Stardom cast. Kazuna Tanaka obviously pulled from the Shinjuku FACE card. We're going to be talking about that very shortly when we go into the match, especially against Natsumi Shozuki from the 8th. But it does look like she will be returning for this card. So the card itself is Utami Hayashishita and Koki Amare versus Miku Ano and Chika Goto. The twin towers explode. Mirai and Mai Sakurai, they'll be taking on Bozilla and Myla Grace. Natsumi Shozuki and Misa Matsui, they'll be taking on Nao Ishikawa and Ryo Sato. And then Celine Flora, Victoria Yuzuki, and Kazuna Tanaka versus Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki. This, unfortunately, will not be live. It's going to air on Wrestle Universe on tape delay. It's going to be available on Monday, the 23rd of December. Matt, obviously a couple of things to analyze here. We've got Koki Amare choosing to go alongside Utami Hayashishita rather than with Chika Goto. Obviously, we know that those two are going to be colliding for the GHC Women's title at Ota Ward. And we've also got the champions against Celine Flora. Now, if this tournament is as what I think will happen, if it is to crown new number one contenders, I think that Celine Flora beating the Dark Wolf Army would be a perfect way to set them up as number one contenders. We are, of course, looking for new matchups for First Dream. Be interesting to see who we go for there, because we know that we have now got a Superfly Championship match, which we'll be talking about very shortly. Who would you like to see win this tournament? And are you a fan of the single elimination format? Because I certainly am.
Yeah, I could have went with the round robin goddess tournament. I'm a glutton for punishment, my man. And it wouldn't be punishment; it'd be great wrestling. Just like
no, it would absolutely.
We find the time, and eventually we would figure it out, because we always do. So, but I'm glad that they are doing a little bit of a tag team tournament. So, yeah, a really good way to cap off this really great first year from Marigold as we roll into First Dream on the 3rd. So, kudos to them. I mean, you look at it on paper, Utami and Koki Amare have got to be the favorites, right? You got Utami, going into First Dream as the number one contender. Koki Amare is as hot as anybody is in any wrestling company in Japan. I mean, just white hot. She's the GHC champion. I do like some of the other teams, but obviously Tanaka and Yuzuki would be a good way to go. My only thing is, Rob, is I don't see the tag champs winning this tournament, right? I don't.
No.
But I don't see them getting beat a week after they won the belts. So my guess is they're going to get DQ'd, or the old TLD to shoot one team right over into the final. So that would be my guess. I don't see them winning, but I don't see them getting past the first round. They're either getting DQ'd, counted out, or the old TLD. I think that would be kind of a good way to kind of set them aside. But at the same time, to me, it wouldn't make sense for them to a week after they win the belts to eat an L. Not unless it goes somewhere. But then again, who am I to tell Brasi Ogawa how to book wrestling? Because clearly he knows what he's doing. But I mean, there's a lot of interesting teams in here. There's a lot of different ways they can go. Again, maybe they do have the Dark Wolf Army go all the way through and win it. What a great statement. Hey, we just won the tag belts a week later. We win this tour. And what a great way to put your stake in the claim of this is the best tag team in Marigold. I mean, that's a possible way to go through it. Bozilla and Miley Grace are a fun team to watch because Bozilla is so dominant and Miley Grace is, and we're going to be talking about her on these two shows we're going to review, because she was just absolutely fantastic, and very much like Koki Amare, her stock has gone up so fast, so quick, and rightfully so. She's somebody that's so over with the crowd and so great in the ring. But yeah, a lot of really interesting teams. I'm interested to watch it on the 23rd when this one airs, my friend, when this one airs. But I guess my early odd-on favorites, I'm going to say Utami and Koki Amare win this. I think that's going to be my early odds, because I just don't see I don't see them meeting any else. I just don't see them going into First Dream, meaning it, not unless they get counted out or something like that, because you're not pinning Utami. And I don't think you beat Koki Amare, because she's as hot as anybody is in this company. She's exactly what they need at the right place at the right time as we're closing out this year going into First Dream. So maybe they win the tournament, and then maybe somewhere down the line they challenge whoever the tag champs are. But I mean, I think it'd be a great statement to have them win this tournament and then go into their big respective championship matches at First Dream. So as you see, in about 15 minutes, if you're watching this on YouTube, it just went from really, really light out to really dark. So that is Pennsylvania in a nutshell. So I'm just going to go turn this light on for a second. Like, what happened with Matt?
Literally losing him to the shadows at this point. Yeah. Do I think the Dark Wolf? I don't think the Dark Wolf Army. I'd be very surprised if they win. I'm going to wait for him to put his headphones on, because I'm actually, now that he's got his headphones back on, I'm actually going to disagree with you a little bit. Simply because at the moment, don't forget that Koki Amare elected Chika Goto as her challenger. At the moment, realistically, Chika Goto has done nothing to warrant this title shot. What if Chika Goto pins Koki Amare?
Ooh.
I mean, their exchange at the Shinjuku FACE show was brilliant, was really, really good. But why not give her a bit of momentum heading into First Dream? Because at the moment, if Koki Amare keeps winning, I think we all assume that Koki Amare is winning at First Dream. You keep having her go over Chika Goto, even if it's in multi-women and neither woman are performing the winning pinfall, you lose all sense of drama when it comes to the actual match itself. Ultimately, does this tournament matter in the grand scheme of things to Koki Amare and Utami? No, I don't think it does. So I think you could have Chika Goto surprise. I mean, we've seen her pin Koki Amare before in the Dreamstar Grand Prix. What if it's just a cheeky roll-up? We've seen the best of the best be beaten by a roll-up. So why not Chika Goto? So I do think that Goto and Miko Aono will win that match. And at the worst, or, if not a win, it will be a draw. In terms of other teams, obviously, we know that Bozilla will be challenging the Dark Wolf Army, and we'll go into a little bit of detail about that on our next episode. But she never announced who her partner was going to be. I know you've got a theory, Matt. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Could it be Bozilla and Myla Grace? Maybe. Maybe it's the former champions. Maybe they go the distance. I'd love to see Zelina Flora. I think really cement them as a tag team. Obviously, we know Victoria Yuzuki will be challenging for the Superfly title at New Year Dream. First Dream, not New Year Dream, First Dream. But what if Natsumi Shozuki and Misa Matsui won it?
Ooh, I don't think there's any wrong answer here. Like, we just gave a whole reason why it really can be.
We have just gone through every single team and gone, they could win it. They should win it. They should win it.
Which is really odd, because when I put my headphones back on, you said, well, I'm going to disagree with you, Matt. And I'm like, I literally just said every team can possibly win. But I was like, oh, in the 200 and some odd episodes we've done, that's like the fourth time we somewhat disagreed. And I'm like, he's got a point. But yeah, you're right. That's a really good shout. And something just crossed my mind, my man, on the 20th. Well, we'll see it on the 23rd. We're going to get another helping, because we got it today, of Utami Hayashishita versus Miko Aono. Because I was like, oh, wow. I text you right away. I was like, this was tremendous. You're like, I know. It was great. They're terrific. That's got to be a big match somewhere. Maybe some.
I love how they keep just sprinkling that in. Never overtly. Just those little sprinkles, those little exchanges that just remind everyone just how bloody good they are together. And they only seem to get better. And I don't care if it is just a 20-minute match of those two lariating each other as hard as they possibly can. I'm fine with that. I'm a man of simple pleasures. But when they do it as well as those two do, I don't care. So yes, absolutely. Give me 15 minutes of that and the cheeky Goto, cheeky roll-up. Again, they don't have to win the tournament, but I think you are probably looking at crowning new number one contenders. Obviously, Bozilla is going to be challenging at some point. You've got a Korakuen on Boxing Day. You've got First Dream. Obviously, it's not going to be Zelina Flora challenging on at First Dream, because Victoria Yuzuki, as I've already mentioned, is in a title match already. And Kazuna Tanaka is my early favorite for the New Year Rumble, but we won't talk about that. It's going to be an interesting tournament, I think, and I like the fact that you are giving this show an identity as well. It's not just a slow march towards First Dream. It's got its own identity, and if this is something that they reproduce on a regular basis, I'm happy with that. I'm very, very happy with that.
Yeah, you're taking advantage of the buzz that they have going on. They obviously they had the buzz as soon as it first started. Julie is there. We know we're losing Julie to the WWE. We're bringing Io in. We have all these wrestlers from Actress Girls that I know myself and Rob and a majority of our fan base have seen very none of, and they've been great. And then they kind of cooled down a little bit, and it really seems like the buzz is back on again. The two shows we're going to talk about, and the show that happened today, and what's the next show? This little mini tag tournament where we just said how excited we are for all the pairings, and we all just gave a reason why every team can win. And then what's happening a week after that? Korakuen. What's happening the week after that? First Dream. So Marigold is on a roll, and they have a lot of things set up where they're going to keep getting bigger, bigger, and bigger. So I'm super excited, my man. I'm pumped. So excited.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Excited. I'm talking the Ultimate Warrior.
I mean, that week itself is going to be absolute carnage, and I'm so excited for it. I really, really am. The fact that we've got both the Marigold show and the Stardom show to watch. I don't know which one I'll watch live, but there we are. Anyway, moving on from that, we move on to just something very, very quickly, and something else that was brought up on today's show from Friday the 13th, and that is that we will have two debuts at the Korakuen Hall show on Boxing Day, as it was announced that both Ryoko Sakimura and Nagisa Takibana, who are the two rookies who also passed their protest alongside Seiri Yamaoka, they will be making their debuts, as I mentioned, on Boxing Day. Their opponents have also been announced, with Takibana facing Kazuna Tanaka, and Sakimura drawing very much the short straw because she'll be facing Nanae Takahashi, who historically does not take it easy on rookies in the best possible way. Now, obviously, it was Takibana who chose Tanaka, and it was Sakimura who chose Takahashi. But obviously, with all the buzz around Seiri Yamaoka and how we've built to her her debut match, I'm really excited to see what these two are able to do as well, Matt.
Again, Marigold's building up a great roster. We have a lot of rookies, a lot of young talent, and we're building off them with the Mirais, with the Mai Sakurais. Obviously, Nanae on her way out, but wrestling a rookie on one of her final singles matches is great. We have the dominant Bozilla. We have fantastic Myla Gray. So we're starting to see this roster really flush out their identity, especially now with these rookies. And look how fast they've come up. Again, you look at Kazuna Tanaka, Victoria Yuzuki. Obviously, I know that Yuzuki obviously was trained in the Stardom dojo, but at the same time, she's still relatively just past her first year. We look what we're seeing with Kamomo Minami. Absolutely, she's absolutely terrific. Rhea Sato. We'll talk about her on these shows, and she was great on that opening tag on the Today Show on Shinjuku FACE that we'll cover next week. And now we're getting more and more rookies, and then with a lot of buzz going on as well. So again, we're flushing out this roster. We're getting more and more talent on here. The only thing is, I think after they have their first few matches, they can't be wrestling the other rookies. They can't be wrestling Rhea Sato. They need to eventually be in a tag with or across like the Utamis, the Mai Sakurais, the Mirais, the Nanae Takahashis, the Miko Anos, the Natsume Shozukis. Boy, this roster is getting really deep. I didn't realize until I started spouting out names, because that's the only way you're going to get better. You are not going to be getting better by like, okay, I just had my first match. Now I'm going to be going on this tour where I'm wrestling my fellow rookies that just debuted the last week or 2-3 months ago. You eventually need to be in the ring with, again, tag matches, either tagging with or across the ring, the upper echelon of this company, because that's the only way you're going to get better. And we've seen it in Stardom. I mean, those rookies, how fast they're improving is absolutely insane. Like, again, look at Hanako. It's one of the reasons why she's improved so much is because she's teaming with Micah. She's going up against the FWCs, the Mayus, the Tams, the Natsuboys. And I think that's really what Marigold needs to do, is fit these rookies in early into their career, wrestling the best of the best. And there's not many rosters better in wrestling than Marigold. But I'm excited. I'm excited for some fresh faces, some new talent. And that's a great way to learn, because they're not coming from a bad dojo system or a wrestling, as Jim Cornette would say, an outlaw mud wrestling company. Folks, we have a lot of those in Pennsylvania in the independents, but where they're like, okay, well, this is the way I learned wrestling. They're like, no, it's all wrong, because you're going to hurt yourself or hurt somebody. It doesn't make sense. You're learning from the Utamis, the Nanaes, right, the Mirais, right out the get-go. So you're learning from the best, and then you're going to be working with the best. And that's why we see a lot of these wrestlers, again, in Marigold and in Stardom over the last year or two, that they're wrestling. You think that they're wrestling 4 or 5 years, and they're only wrestling 4 or 5 months. So, yeah, I'm really excited for some fresh faces in Marigold coming up soon, brother.
Yeah, because I think one of the big things for Marigold initially was that they had a relatively small roster. So, you think that we've got Nanae now retiring, Julia's gone. You've got Bozilla and Myla Grace, who will eventually leave Marigold because they are effectively just on a tour. They're not actual, contracted Marigold talents. So you have got to start to fill those gaps. And obviously we have started to do that. Naho Yamada has made her debut, Rhea Sato, Kamomo Minami Yuki. And then, of course, we've got the incredible Flying Penguin, who we'll be talking about very, very shortly. But then, of course, obviously we've got these 3 rookies as well making their way. So I am excited to see what they bring, because as I mentioned, the focus has very much been put on Seiri Yamaoka, the super rookie. So I'm intrigued to see what these others can do as well. You talk about the depth of roster. I would argue that Stardom have a depth of roster that's pretty unrivaled, and we are inching closer to Wrestle Dynasty on January 5th. And obviously we know that one of the matches that we're getting for Wrestle Dynasty is the International Women's Cup, where we will have a 4-way. One woman from AEW, one from CMLL, one from Ring of Honor, and one from Stardom. And they will compete for a title opportunity of their choice. The CMLL names have already been announced for that 4-way. Ring of Honor have announced their 4 names as well. The 4-way is Layla Hirsch, Athena, Billy Starks, and Red Velvet. Pick a name. Honestly,
there was actually a winner at they did that match. I think it aired on Honor Club last night. Yes, and there was a winner. Would you like me to tell you who it is?
I would indeed.
It is Athena, exactly who I think that yeah, and all those other wrestlers are great, but Athena,
they are.
Yeah, they're fantastic. But like Athena stands out in that group. Like she really, really does. So Athena did get that win. So there you go, buddy. I know they're good. I love giving because I always get my news from you live on air. I'm glad I was finally, maybe as the former Ring of Honor wrestler, even though it's a way different company than it was 20 years ago, I'm able to give you some Ring of Honor news, buddy. So there you go.
I mean, again, I'd have been happy with any of them because, as you mentioned, they are great wrestlers. I know that Athena and Billy Starks, I believe, are the Ring of Honor Women's Championship for match for Final Battle. I imagine, well, the story has been Billy Starks taking that belt from Athena. I imagine that's probably what will happen at Final Battle. So it's great to see Athena getting that limelight because she's been on fire in that division. So the fact that she's there, yes, get in. So we know one person. We know it is also going to be, I believe, the winner of Jamie Hayter and Willow Nightingale will join them in that 4-way, which just the fact that we might get either one of those and Athena against any of the Stardom wrestlers is very, very exciting. But Stardom have announced a mini 16 wrestler tournament that will decide the person to go forth. So what's going to happen is we have got 4 different Stardom 4-ways. The winner of each of those 4-ways will go into another 4-way. And that 4-way, the winner of that one will go on to Wrestle Dynasty. So those first initial 4-ways, I'm going to be saying 4-ways a lot. Those first initial 4-ways are going to be happening on the 20th and 21st of December, and all champions have been omitted, which is great, or all singles champions, should I say. So the first round 4-ways are as follows. So you've got Hanan versus Yuna Mizumori versus Momo Watanabe versus Saki Kashima. You've got Shiori versus Sairida versus Queen Clown, the rightful Dynasty Clown. It's about time we put some Tokyo Dome respect on the clown's name. Versus Rani Agami, Koguma versus Waka Tsukiyama versus Tomoka Inaba versus Rina, and then the final one is Konami versus Suzu Suzuki versus Hina versus Aya Sakura. Now, I feel like some of these 4-ways are relatively easy to call, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but you look at them and go, I think it's going to be those. So, for example, that second one, Shiori versus Sairida versus Fukin Death versus Rani Agami, it's going to be Shiori or Sairida, I feel like. And I feel like, it's going to be Shiori. However, that top one, Hanan versus Yuna Mizumori versus Momo Watanabe versus Saki Kashima, I feel like you could literally put any of those 4 women into that match and they'd be brilliant. My heart says Momo Watanabe. But then again, my heart also says give Yuna Mizumori the spotlight. I don't know. Matt, if you were a betting man, and I gave you those 4 first round 4-ways, which 4 women are you picking? So we'll start with the first one. Hanan, Yuna Mizumori, Momo Watanabe, and Saki Kashima. Who are you choosing out of that?
Before I give my official prediction, I've been waiting to do this segment since I texted you today. I said I'm going to properly pop you. And I've been waiting about 12 hours for this. Now, Rob, this news came out today, correct?
It did. It did, yes.
What is the date today? Not only what is the date on the calendar?
It's the 13th of December, Friday the 13th.
It is Friday the 13th. Death. Stardom is, they put this, we've been waiting for about a month, because CMLL announced who they were doing, AEW announced who they were doing, and Ring of Honor announced who they were like, what's Stardom going to do? They waited specifically to do this on Friday the 13th, Rob. So
it's a sign.
Yes, it's going to be okay. All right. Now I got the bit out of the way. All right. Honestly, That top one, I'm going to say Momo Watanabe. I would not be shocked or upset if it's Hanan, Yuna, or Saki, but I'm going to say Momo Watanabe
Yeah.
will be your first qualifier, sir.
Yeah, I do agree. Especially after how good the reaction was to a match with Mayu. She does deserve that spotlight, absolutely. So the second one then,
I'm going to say Shuri.
yeah, agreed. I can't really argue with that at all. Again, I would imagine it's probably a 2-horse race out of that one, Shuri and Sayarida. Koguma, Wax, Tsukiyama, Tomoka, Inaba, and Rina. Oh,
I'm going to say Kagama because I think because
yeah.
she's the most tenured there, she might be the biggest overall star. And don't get me wrong, I love me some Kagama, FWC, but again, my favorite and what I think is the best tag team in all the land. As the fan in me, I'm pulling for Tomoka Inaba just because I have my dream final. And I think you're gonna know which way I'm gonna go with here.
I know where you're going. And then the fourth one, Konami, Suzu Suzuki, Hina, and Aya Sakura. Again, the rather irrational part of me wants Aya Sakura to get the opportunity. I want this to be an opportunity for the younger talent. However, if we are looking at our best possible matchup, and after her own really good performance in a completely unorthodox match with the Great Okan, I would be amazed. This would be the biggest shock if Suzu Suzuki is not winning this.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Suzu, but maybe there's an underlining factor for Konami. So, but I'm gonna agree with you. Say Suzu again. I would love to see Tomoka win because I would love for this 4-way to be Momo Watanabe, Shuri, Tomoka Inaba, and Suzu Suzuki or Konami.
Yes.
There's a lot of different ways you can do it because we're still building to Shuri and Konami at and a week away from the final and Sumo Hall at Dream Kingdom. So there's a possibility there. There's a possibility that Hana and Saida win their brackets as well, and we get a little Wingori, up against each other. But I'm going to say my 4-way is Momo Watanabe, Shuri, Kagama, and Suzu Suzuki. How about you, sir?
I pretty much agree on all counts. I think that third one, you could get maybe Rina in there. But again, I feel like Suzu Suzuki's a shoe-in from that final 4-way. I feel like Momo Watanabe, it could be anyone from that first round, it really could, but I feel like Momo Watanabe deserves it, has earned it, if you will. So yeah, Momo, Shiori, Koguma, and Suzu Suzuki. Now, obviously, I know out of all of those who I would put into the final, and I've got a sneaking suspicion that it might be the same as you. So, who would you put forward to the Tokyo Dome on January the 5th to face, obviously, Athena, whoever wins the CMLL qualifier, and the winner of Jamie Hayter versus Willow Nightingale?
What a better way to start the year for the new leader of Queen's Quest, Momo Watanabe. That's right, folks. If you have listened to our, if I don't know when it's coming up. If you have listened to our prediction show, I'm going to say Momo
Tomorrow.
Watanabe. Okay, I'm going to say Momo Watanabe does win this for a couple of reasons. One, she is now. I know there's been some stardom participation in the Tokyo Dome, whether it was live on air or video that we may never see. Watanabe has never wrestled in the She has never, right? Momo's never wrestled in the Tokyo Dome, correct? So, the most over person other than Mayu at this historic crossover show was Momo Watanabe. So you made mention about Suzu winning that 4 because of what she did in her match with Great Okan. Momo Watanabe needs it's something that obviously I wouldn't be upset if it's Suzu. I wouldn't be upset at all if it's Shuri. Love me some Shuri. By the way, Shuri is Andy Hedder's pick to win this whole entire thing. But to me, I just think it's got to be Momo Watanabe. Not got to be, but I mean, so you want to talk about, again, I don't like the word deserved. It's earned. Nobody has earned this more than Momo. She's been here the longest. She's been here since 2016. She helped hold this company up back in 2018 after Kyrie and after EO left. She helped, along with Mayu, hold the company up back in that horrible year that was 2020. And Momo's been absolutely crushing it this last year and a half, especially what she was able to do in that match with Mayu at Historic Crossover. I think what a better representative to go into that four-way than one Momo Watanabe. We've seen her wrestle over here in the States before. We know there's going to be a lot of U.S. people that are flying over to Japan for Wrestle Kingdom weekend that are going to be at Wrestle Dynasty. She's well known. So my pick to win the whole thing is not the whole actual cup, but the starting representation is Momo Watanabe. Again, we'll be upset if it's Shuri, Konami, Suzu. No, they're all great, but I just think this is our way to really start building up Momo Watanabe. Because I think her 2025 is going to be monster year. It's a great way to really catapult her into that next level that she's been ready for quite some time to win this little mini tournament. But how about you, partner?
I feel like you've got to let Queen's Quest go, Matt. It's dead. You have to let it go, brother. Never. I'm sorry.
Always in my heart. My heart will go on.
I do agree with you, and obviously, as this release, the round table of our predictions for 2025 releases tomorrow. I do agree that Momo Watanabe's 2025 is going to be something to watch. Certainly, I do think she wins it and gets her shot. Whether she wins the four-way or not, I don't know. What would I love to see? I'd love Athena to win and challenge for the World of Stardom Championship. That's what I'd love to see. Whether that happens, I don't know. But Momo Watanabe, I feel, has certainly earned the spotlight in the Tokyo Dome. Again, I don't think it'll be as the leader of Queen's Quest. Again, I'm sorry to put out those embers.
At the end of the year, I have a whole 2025. I'm not saying she comes in with the flag at the Tokyo Dome, flanked by, former members of Queen's Quest that are no longer wrestling. I'm just saying. But anywho, yeah, Momo's a good shot, buddy.
Yeah, agreed. Let's kick into those two shows that we are going to be reviewing then. Just again, we are not talking about the Shinjuku FACE show today. We will be dropping a review early next week of that show. But if you haven't seen it, go out of your way to see it. It's one of Marigold's best shows of the year, topped by what is undoubtedly one of their matches of the year. Looking back then to the 7th of December, we're going to night 4 of the Marigold Winter Wonderful Fight Tour. We're in Osaka 176 box. The announced attendance inside the 176 box, Osaka, was 356 people, an almost 25% increase on their previous house at the venue, which was back on the 5th of October and was 286. So a big jump in attendance. Also listed as a sellout as well. Now, this isn't the highest house Marigold have achieved at the venue over the 4 shows they've run there. 494 on the 1st of June still is. However, a 25% increase, a sellout as well for the amount of tickets that they put on sale. It is certainly a marked improvement. And it feels like we have been down in the dumps in regards to Marigold attendances. But the cards have always been nothing but really fun. And it's good to see, as you mentioned at the top of the episode, my friend, it's really good to see that we are getting the attendances. And it was a hot crowd as well. I felt like the Osaka crowd were really into this show. Just a reminder that Chikagoto was absent from this card. Nanae Takahashi was absent from this card. Kazuna Tanaka continues to wrestle in a back brace. And we'll be talking about that a little bit later on. But the show marks the return, man. This is perhaps the most important thing to happen on this entire show. It marks the return of the Osaka native Flying Penguin to a Marigold ring for the first time since her defeat to Kazuna Tanaka on the 5th of October, a match that took place at this very venue. So it's nice to see things come full circle. Just a quick recap of those results then. We open with a tag team match. Flying Penguin and Hummingbird defeated Naho Yamada and Rhea Sato, with Hummingbird pinning Naho Yamada with the Mad Splash. Misa Matsui in tag team action defeated Kimomo Minami and Kazuna Tanaka with a European clutch. Misa Matsui pinning Kimomo Minami in 7 minutes and 21 seconds. In a singles match, Bozilla defeated Victoria Yuzuki with a sit-out powerbomb in 8 minutes, and 18 seconds. Tag team action then in your semi-main event. Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki defeated the team of Utami Hayashishita and now Ishikawa. Nagisa Nozaki pinning Ishikawa with the Noir Lancer in 11 minutes and 38 seconds. And then in your main event, a 6-woman tag team match. Mirai, Mai Sakurai, and Myla Grace defeated the team of Mika Wano, Natsumi Shozuki, and Koki Amare, with Myla Grace getting the pinfall over Natsumi Shozuki. And Matt, we finally have a name for that Sky Twister press. It is officially, according to Shupro Weekly anyway, it is officially listed as the Tornado Potato. And that might be the greatest wrestling move name I've ever heard. 15 minutes and 19 seconds. Myla Grace gained a pinfall victory over the Superfly champion. On the whole, Matt, this was another really fun card. But this opener, can we just talk about the passion on display in this match? Because you'd got Naho Yamada coming out, and Naho Yamada is a passionate singer anyway. Whenever she comes out and sings her theme, which is always a delight, but whenever she comes out and sings her theme, she gives it a lot of gusto. I don't know what she'd had backstage, but she came out and she belted it out. She was doing countdowns for the audience and everything. Absolutely loving life. And then to follow that, Flying Penguin comes out and sings her theme. It was a musical delight to start the show. No wonder that we had a sellout for this show. But Naho Yamada is someone that has really impressed me on these last couple of cards, Matt. I feel like she's a really, really solid undercard wrestler. And I know that obviously she had considerably more experience than your Minami Yukis and your Komomo Minami. But it does feel on a talent scale, on an experience scale, that she is a step up from them as well. She's very smooth in her transition. She feels more comfortable in the ring. And yes, she was ultimately ate the pinfall here because of some miscommunication between her and Rhea Sato. But I feel like she is really, really coming along in the ring. And she is really, really good to watch as well.
Yeah, I think she's terrific from a lot of different aspects, and she's somebody different because, well, she was the only one that sang her own theme, and then Flying Penguin was like, and I was like, oh, not today. But yeah, you said it perfectly. Like, considering the fact that, like, for the Marigold fans, obviously, which mean you are, she's a rookie, but she's had some wrestling experience, so it seems like she's a little bit above, your Rhea Sato's. Looks like she's a little bit above your Komomo Minamis and whatnot, and they're really great. But she's someone that I would love to see maybe have a little bit of a program with Myla Grace. I think those two, give them like 8 or 9 minutes on a show and maybe have them do trade wins back and forth and then give them a big 14, 15-minute match as like your rubber match. I would love to see, part of me, Naho Yamada and Myla Grace have a little bit of a program. Because I think those two would work really, really well together. And they work really hard trying to steal the undercard. And a lot of times they do a great job, especially Myla Grace this last month or so, of really stealing the undercard and being one of the shining stars of this fantastic roster. I make mention all the time, partner, that you always want to start your shows with a hot match. Not only do you get a hot match, you got a hot little musical performance between these two. So
exactly.
They doubled down on it. And again, it was, and I made mention at the start of the show, as soon as I clicked on Wrestle Universe and clicked on the tab for the show, full house, the lighting, the crowd, they were ready to go from even before even Bell 1 started. We get 2 mini concerts, and then we get a great match. I thought Hummingbird and Flying Penguin worked really well together. It looks like Hummingbird's part of this roster now, because I don't think there's been many shows that she hasn't been on over the last 2 or 3 months. So I'm all for it. Her and Flying Penguin were terrific together. We can always come up with some fancy names, the birds,
Absolutely.
or the bird is the word, or there's a whole bunch of different ways that they can go about it. Rhea Sato here, she's terrific. Like, her submission skills have come a long way in such a short time. She was great. Naho Yamada, I thought, was the star of this match, but ultimately this was just a really good tag match. That partner, you didn't give the time. What was the time on this bad boy?
6 minutes 42. I did realize after I'd said it, I hadn't given the time. 6 minutes 42.
They were able to tell this good of a story in less than 7 minutes. So you have the concert in maybe 8 or 9 minute segment. You know what I mean? So you get this all done, wrapped up in 10 minutes. You get 2 concerts and a great tag match. I mean, what more can you want? 3.5 stars. great match, great outing, great effort from these four ladies. So really, really terrific stuff, and really just a great way to start off these two fantastic shows, partner.
Moving on to the three-way then, Misa Matsui, Komomo Minami, and Kazuna Tanaka. There is going to be a bit of discourse surrounding Kazuna Tanaka. I want to save that for the show on the 8th, because that's obviously where things become extremely apparent. You can tell here that she is struggling with her back pretty much from the very outset. Misa Matsui keeps this entire thing together, in my opinion. It's a good match, but I feel like it wasn't quite as good as the opener.
No, I totally agree. And again, three ways are really, really tough to do. Again, especially when you have some inexperienced wrestlers like Kazuna Tanaka, and Kazuna Tanaka wrestling at maybe 50%. That may be a stretch. And then obviously Komomo Minami. So yeah, Misa Matsui is kind of the glue to hold this match together. She does a really great job. She really does. Some really great back and forth stuff. Majority of this match, though, was kind of a glorified singles match with Misa Matsui and Komomo Minami. Kazuna Tanaka does her best. God bless her. You can just tell she was in a lot of pain, and God blessing her for gutting it out here. Ultimately, though, I just love watching Misa Matsui wrestle. She's such a special talent. There's a lot of big things. I can't wait to see what she's going to do in 2025 because, again, very much like Miko Ano and Natsumi Shozuki, wrestler that I've never seen before, and I'm sure you're as well, that we're completely blown away at just how talented that she is here in this great Marigold roster. 3.5 stars for me, my friend. It was nice seeing her getting a win on a sold-out show.
Yeah, absolutely. I see her very much in the Natsupoi mold, not in the style of wrestling, and not just because they're both high-speed wrestlers, but I get the impression that you can, even though she is predominantly a sort of quicker paced wrestler, you could still plug her into a white belt title defense and she will be great. I don't think she'll win the belt, but she is a solid hand. And when we interviewed Utami, and we asked her who on the Marigold roster would you like to face, it was Misa Matsui she picked out. Now, do I think Misa Matsui is red belt ready, as in red belt challenge? Not quite. But I feel like that's nothing a few big wins wouldn't rectify. The white belt, however, especially if, as I think, spoilers, Mai Sakurai takes the belt off Miko Ano at First Stream, I think Misa Matsui versus Mai Sakurai is a very, very tasty matchup, and I think would be a very good Korakuen Hall semi-main event. Hell, even a main event. I don't want to just pigeonhole Misa Matsui in that Superfly division. Okay, we saw Stardom do that with this with Natsupoi, where she was basically from the outset. Yes, she's a high speed wrestler, but she can also be in this division, this division, this division. Let's do that with Misa Matsui as well, because she is a damn good wrestler. She's lost a lot this year, which is fine. We've already talked about wins and losses on this show already. I want to see her, getting a couple of big wins now next year, not just being that person who's on the undercard who always delivers that solid performance but doesn't really feel like she gets the push. Okay.
Why did you say spoilers for a match that hasn't happened yet? You just said spoilers. I think that Mai Sakurai. That wasn't a spoiler. Are you from the future, Rob Goodwin? Oh my goodness. Is that why you were so gray? Is because the flux capacitor was running low?
Travel sickness, man.
There it is. But real quick, before we move on to the next segment, Misa Matsui as Natsupoi. So what you're trying to tell me is, bye, Matsui. Sorry, you're trying to tell me.
That's exactly what I'm trying to tell you.
Done the bye play
we haven't. No, we haven't.
Yeah. Flipping in our old age.
Moving on then, Bozilla and Victoria Yuzuki. And what I really like about Bozilla, and this is credit to her opponents as well, I was really interested, and I've talked about this before, about how, Bozilla was going to fare in singles matches, effectively doing, the same thing, squashing opponents, being imperious, being difficult to take off her feet. And, in the big matches, her match with Sari, her match with Nanae, her matches in the Dreamstar Grand Prix, she's proved that she's able to do other matches. However, on the quote unquote house shows, it's always been really interesting to see what sort of singles match she delivers. And even though they are effectively extended squash matches, I think it is credit to her opponents that she still manages to put on really good different matches. Because if you put this and the Now Ishikawa match from the 8th back to back, they're both effectively squash matches, but they're both completely different style of matches. And I think that's really, really good. And again, it's credit to Victoria Yuzuki, to Bozilla, and to Nao Ishikawa that they're able to make what is effectively a formula to keep Bozilla strong. They're able to still make that compelling viewing. And that's, again, credit where credit's due. Because, naturally, if we see the same thing over and over and over again, we start to find it boring. I've never at any point found a Bozilla singles match boring, despite the fact that we know what's going to happen. And again, I think that's credit to the people in the match.
Yeah, and credit to Bozilla, she makes it entertaining. She makes
exactly. She does.
She makes the march to the gallows, for lack of a better term,
she does.
pretty fun. Yeah. You're just like,
playing with her food, she makes it very fun.
Like, I love me some Yuzuki, and I love me some Rhea Sato, and I love me all these other wrestlers that she's been gobbling up. But Victoria is really weird when we're looking at this match graphic, because a lot of these matches on these shows for Bozilla, that she's going to dominate. Victoria Yuzuki, the title challenger. She's won that again. I think that her and Kazuna Tanaka over the next year or two are going to be the ones that are going to hold up the tag team division, or rightfully so, because they're so special as a tag team. And again, instant chemistry that they had on Summer Destiny. So I was like, this one's a little bit different. It wasn't like 100% a squash match. Like, Victoria Yuzuki showed a lot of fire. She really, really did.
Yeah.
And tried to take Bozilla off her game with that high-speed style. But eventually Bozilla just gets that one hit where she's able to slow Yuzuki down. Yuzuki never really kind of is able to get back to that speed. Like, eventually Bozilla slows her down and then finishes her up with a Liger Bomb. So yeah, this was a fun one. I had this one at 3.5 stars. Was something a little bit different. Even though it was the same, it was a little bit different, and it made it for really entertaining. Match. Excuse me. Yeah.
Agreed. And that's what I mean. They're able to change it up just enough to keep it entertaining. And I'm a big fan of that. Victoria Yuzuki is an interesting one. She did show a lot of fire. I personally preferred the Nao Ishikawa match, but that's simply because of the chemistry that her and Bozilla have. And there seems to be a story there that we're building towards in terms of Nao Ishikawa and Bozilla, which I'm excited to see, even though it probably just means more beatings for Nao Ishikawa. But she takes them so entertainingly, so I can't hate it.
She's the 1, 2, 3 kid of Marigold. She really is. We're really just, come on now. We're really just pulling for everybody. It might not be everybody's favorite wrestler on the roster, but there's nobody that's like, I don't like Nao Ishikawa. Like, we all love her.
No one doesn't like Nao Ishikawa. She was so over on this show, and she was so over on the next show as well. Speaking of Nao Ishikawa, Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki defeating Utami and Nao Ishikawa. Even before this match starts, for a fact that Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki aren't losing this match ahead of their title challenge. But again, this was a really, really good match. Nao Ishikawa doing a lot of the brunt work. Utami Hayashishita having to come in to reset the equilibrium. Exactly. sort of become that great equalizer in the match, especially as Nao Ishikawa spent a lot of time getting beaten up. But yeah, we made the title challengers look dominant. Nao Ishikawa came over as a great underdog babyface. Utami still looks like an absolute powerhouse. An entertaining match, Matt.
Yeah, and again, Chiaki's doing a lot better job at being a heel, slowing things down. We would see, like, back in the summer, she'd maybe go a little bit too fast. And you need, especially as a heel, especially she's doing old school heel stuff, you need to give the audience time to react. You need to give your opponent time to sell, to put over what you're doing. And we see that she's getting a little bit better. Here she hit another really, really good stride. And the cheating that she does, I would always be like, she's so good, but it's like she's cheating in front of the referee. Now she's waiting. They're doing a great job turning the referee at certain times. The championship match they had, and I can't wait to discuss it with you early next week. They did a great job getting the ref out in certain spots in their championship match that they had today. And I'm like, and they did it very, very, like, it was very, like, out of left field. You didn't see it coming, and it was very original, which I liked. Chiaki here was terrific. Her and Nao Ishikawa, their exchange in the beginning of this match was really interesting. That really just set the table for what I think is going to be a future World of Marigold Red Belt Championship match between Nagisa Nozaki and Utami. Because remember, Nagisa did pin Utami clean in the Dream
Open
Star. So
tonight.
that's a possibility way. That's one way they can go. And who wouldn't want to see that match? So obviously, yeah, you're right. Utami comes in and she kind of plays clean up a little, gets the match set back to the way that, you know, she'd wanted to for her team, which is really just great stuff with Nagisa and Utami. Again, that's just like, I think that's a big money match, I think, for Cork and Hall, maybe in February, March of 2025. Eventually, though, it's the tag team work. Again, this makes sense. Who's the constant tag team here? The Dark Wolf Army. They do enough to divide and conquer, take the main eventer of Utami out of this match to ultimately just separate and be able to get Nao Ishikawa in the ring and be able to put her away. Great psychology, great storytelling. They got this done in 12 minutes. I had this at 3 3/4 stars. I thought this was terrific and a great way to build up the Dark Wolf Army for their big championship match coming up in just about a week's time from when the show was to when the match happened.
Yeah, you mentioned their title match at Shinjuku FACE. Yes, the cheating is by far better than it was. However, we probably do have to talk about that chair shot that led to the finish where the base actually fell out of the chair, which meant that Nagisa Nozaki just hit Mai Sakurai across the head with the frame, which the noise it made was gross.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week. I don't with concussions. I mean, Sakurai got her hands up, but at the same time, at the same time, it's you know, you get a chair swinging like that. Again, we'll talk about it next week. Great match. Yeah, you know how I feel about that.
I do. In Nagisa Nozaki's defense, and this is the last thing I'll say, it didn't fall out until she was there. So I don't think she'd realized that the base, like the pad, had fallen out as she brought it down. So yeah, be that as it may, it was. Yeah, but the cheating itself, yes, is significantly better. They're utilizing the numbers game a lot better as well, which is something, again, we'll be talking about next week. Moving on to the main event, then Myla Grace getting a big decisive victory over the Superfly champion. Obviously, enlisted that Superfly championship challenge from Myla Grace. That will be put forward to Shinjuku FACE as well. And I rather erroneously said that this would be a rematch from the tournament. It wasn't, because Natsumi Shozuki eliminated Zeta Steele from the tournament. It was Misa Matsui who eliminated Myla Grace. So I apologize for having said that. However, the two previous singles matches between the pair, Natsumi Shozuki has won both. However, it's nice to see Myla Grace in this main event setting, especially alongside the Twin Star champions. I think she's done a good job as well, and she's someone who we weren't necessarily sure about when it comes to sort of the pacing of Japanese wrestling, especially early on those first couple of shows. It looked like she was finding her feet, things like that. You compare that to how she is now, and it's 9 day. I think she deserves all the kudos in the world for the progress that she has made in a Marigold ring. You know, the reps over and over and over again, and she's now a really entertaining wrestler to watch. I think the fact that she is completely different when she is with Bozilla than she is with the likes of Mirai Mai Sakurai, I think is a credit to her as well. But yes, Tornado Potato. Not entirely sure how I feel about the name, but it does make me laugh, so we'll take it.
Just think of the shirts. You can have like a potato, and you can have Myla Grace's awesome outfit, like twirling on it, almost
it
like
is a very good outfit.
So you have a potato, like literally twirling with Myla Grace's outfit, like around the potato. So you have all those colors around like a plain, you know, brown potato. Again, I'm just giving you merchandising ideas, you know. So
there you go, yeah.
But anywho, one of the many things I loved about this match, Rob, is you have a lot of main eventers, right? Mirai Mai Sakurai, Miko Ano, Natsume Shozuki, because you have your champions. And Koki Amare, again, she's really coming. There's somebody that she had a lot of steam and buzz around her going in to the Dream Star. And then again, coming out, you know, she was one win away, winning her block. And Myla Grace, who's somebody that's clearly now they can tap as a main eventer. Made sense here. She was great in this match. They sold out the house with her on as the main event, which is great. And she's somebody that is getting great reaction. So again, you have those four great wrestlers with now Koki Amare. Fumble, Koki Amare. I thought that was me.
Drop my pen. I'm sorry.
So like it was a glass. It's like Stone Cold was going to come in, but so now Koki Amare is somebody that's like she's right underneath Utami. You can make an argument that she's leapfrogged over Sakurai, Miko Ano, and Mirai as that number 2 behind Utami because she's just white hot right now. And then you have Miley Grace as well, somebody that's really coming up the ranks, and they're on opposite ends. Obviously, you have some really great stuff here with Mirai and Kokiamari to start. Some really good stuff, just hard hitting back and forth. But then we start getting to Miley Grace and Natsume Shozuki, which again is the match we're going to be getting in a week's time from when the show was. Again, the one that happened today. Makes sense because you're trying to build some anticipation for that match, which they do here. Some really great stuff with Mai Sakurai and Miko Ano, again, because we're building to that match coming up at First Stream just in a few weeks. So they did a great job having tag matches, having kind of little singles matches as we're sprinkling in to these big matches we have coming up at the end of the year and beginning of next year. Then ultimately we just have everybody hitting the big moves, the big waterfall moves. But it's Miley Grace in the main event getting the shock win with the tornado potato. At least I'll remember it. You know what I mean? That's easy one. Tornado potato on Natsumi Shozuki, thus making her the number 1 contender for that championship. That she makes her championship aspirations made at the end of this match. This was fantastic. Went a little over 15 minutes, so you had time to let it breathe. I had it 4.25 stars. I thought this was terrific, and the crowd was an end to everything from the time the bell rang to the time the bell rang with Miley Grace giving that really good promo afterwards, making sure that she is the number 1 contender for Shinjuku FACE. So excellent stuff. Really great match again. All 6 of these wrestlers were terrific. Obviously, the Sakurai Miko Ano stuff. And we're guessing that's going to be the semi-main event of this big show coming up on the 3rd.
Assume so.
And I think so too, because they have great instant chemistry. Really good. I can't wait for that. Again, they're planting the seeds, giving us just a little taste of what we're going to get on the 3rd. I can't wait for it. And again, we know Kokiamari and Mirai, that's going to be a program sometime in 2025. It has to be. It has to be, because it's just like we've seen them have singles matches before. We've seen them crush each other here. Just excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. And I'm glad that Miley Grace did get her title shot, because I've been championing for her to get a championship match, especially in the Superfly division, for quite some time. And obviously, Natsumi Shozuki, she's another low-key MVP of this company. She's terrific.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. We'll move on then to night 5, which took place on the 8th of December from Tahara City General Gymnasium in Aichi. It's the first time Marigold have run the venue, but the audience is unannounced. Not as full as the Osaka show. You could see empty seats. However, I will say that the crowd were just as hot. They were a very, very good crowd again for the second show in a row. So that's always really good to hear. We opened with a tag team match, Victoria Yuzuki and Kamomo Minami defeating Hummingbird and Rhea Sato. Victoria Yuzuki getting the pinfall over Rhea Sato with her version of the Fisherman Suplex that is now christened the Victoria Clutch in 7 minutes and 58 seconds. Second match, Natsumi Shozuki pinned Kazuna Tanaka in 8 minutes and 29 seconds with a diving double knee drop. Bozilla destroyed now Ishikawa in 6 minutes and 17 seconds with the drill a hole pile driver. Another tag team semi-main event win for the Dark Wolf Army, Nozaki and Chiaki, winning, Miko Ano and Naho Yamada. Chiaki pinning Naho Yamada with the Argentine Buster in 13 minutes. And then in your main event, Mirai, Mai Sakurai, Miley Grace again getting the win over Utami Hayashishita, Koki Amare, and Misa Matsui. Miley Grace once again getting the pin over Misa Matsui in 13 minutes and 36 seconds with that tornado potato. Matt, let's talk first about Victoria Yuzuki in this tag match, because we talked about a hot match to open up the Osaka box show. I thought this was even better. We didn't get the singing. We didn't get the musical element of it, which I'm slightly disappointed in. However, I thoroughly enjoyed this opener. I thought it was great.
Handsome, what was the house? Was the house attendance on this?
Wasn't announced.
Okay, I thought I missed, so I was like, oh, I felt like I wasn't paying attention. You know, you have those students in class. I think they know it all that aren't paying attention. Right here. Anywho, and I don't know it all, but yeah, I thought this was great, and it makes me want to see Hummingbird and Flying Penguin versus Victoria Yuzuki and Kazuna Tanaka. I would love I think that'd be a great match because I mean, Kamamo Manami was great. I love how, and Rhea Saito was terrific. And I love, me, I like submission style wrestlers. These two are great submission style wrestlers. The way they flow, in the words of Billy Robinson, the late great Billy Robinson, they attack the body like a ladder. The way they flow from one submission to another. I thought they were great, but for me, the MVPs of this match was Victoria Yuzuki and Hummingbird. Their exchanges, and they were just brief, were really, really good. I'm like, boy, I would love to see the bird is the word, as I'm going to christen them, versus Victoria Yuzuki and Kazuna Tanaka. I think it'd be a great way to open up a Cork and Hall show. I really think that'd be a great way to open up a Cork and Hall show. But also really good stuff. We got a fast start between the two. Again, Victoria Yuzuki, somebody that's been wrestling a little over a year. You think she's wrestling 5 or 6 years. She takes a great job getting a little bit of heat, and then her comeback. She's got a fiery comeback. And again, that's something that usually takes 5-6 years for a true babyface to really learn, where she almost has her comeback down pat, wrestling only a little over a year. It's insane. She's a wrestling prodigy. But ultimately, it's her putting Rhea Saito away with the Fisherman Suplex, now known as the Victoria Clutch. 3.5 stars. Again, you always want to start off your show with a hot match. This was a hot match to start. Excellent stuff.
It was, and you can certainly tell that even briefly, Victoria Yuzuki was under the tutelage of Mayu Iwatani, because she might throw the best exhaustion super kick in Marigold. It's a very, very tasty super kick, and yeah, you're absolutely right. I can't say enough good things about Victoria Yuzuki. She feels like she improves every time she's in the ring, and she just seems to love it as well. She just seems to really love wrestling, and that sort of passion. It really does sort of permeate through her into the wrestling. Like every single move is an event for Victoria Yuzuki, and you're seeing this development, the standing moonsault that she's doing now, the ever expanding arsenal of moves. I feel like she really is, for lack of a better phrase, the student of the game, and that's really exciting to see for Victoria Yuzuki. Again, I would put my mortgage, which Kirsty would be fuming about, on Victoria Yuzuki holding that Marigold World Championship at some point in the future, because she is the future of the company, without a shadow of a doubt. That's not a hot take. It's just the way it is, isn't it? Right, so Kazuna Tanaka versus Natsumi Shozuki. I will be honest, I turned this off halfway through. I refused to watch the rest of it. You can tell from the very outset. You could tell on the 7th that Tanaka was struggling with her back. Obviously, she comes out with this enormous back brace on. And it's something we discussed on the Stardom cast as well when it was announced that she was pulled from the Shinjuku FACE card. She comes out again here on the 8th, and just immediately there's something wrong. Like, there's just, whether it's movement-wise or just stiffness-wise, I don't know, but there is clearly something wrong. Eventually, it does get to a point where clearly she can't carry on. Manages to communicate to the referee, and the finish is done. And credit to Natsumi Shozuki, the finish was done relatively painlessly. Hit the diving double knees, the softest diving double knees you will ever see. You compare that to how Sari hit Nanae Takahashi with the diving double foot stomp, and how Natsumi Shozuki hit Myla Grace with it on today's show. And this has been a cause for great debate on social media, because, as you know, on social media, everybody is completely and utterly rational.
Really? That's
Absolutely.
a hot take. Oh, okay, Rob. All right. Go.
Always nothing but really rational takes. No, in all seriousness, there are some interesting opinions on social media. Some really good ones, some really thought out ones. Some are angry because they feel that Kazuna Tanaka shouldn't have been in the position to have these undercard matches when she's clearly in a lot of pain. And it does sort of bring up that debate of who is it that makes that call. Because if it's Kazuna Tanaka saying, no, I'm okay to keep going, that's where wrestlers need to sort of shelve the pride and realize that, at 20 years old, you shouldn't be wrestling in a back brace, for someone who is so young in her career. If it's Marigold higher ups, if it's doctors that have said, no, she's okay, she can keep going, then that's maybe something that needs looking at as well. Because again, during this match, either Kazuna Tanaka is going to get an Oscar for her performance, or that girl is in a tremendous amount of pain. And again, it raises that debate, doesn't it? Because we've talked about it, I feel, a lot, where whose call is it? Who is it that goes, do you know what? No, I'm making the final call here. You are not going out. You're clearly not right. Okay. Is it the management that make that call? Is it Kazuna Tanaka that makes that call? And also, whose decision is it for her to continue on the shows when because as I mentioned, on the 7th, she didn't look right. And then on the 8th, if anything, it just seems to have gotten worse. So I'm intrigued for your take on this. Obviously, we know that Kazuna Tanaka has been taken off the Shinjuku FACE cards. She did come out, looked very happy. She has been announced for the Twin Star Cup matches on the 20th. She has also been announced for the 26th at Korakuen, where she'll be taking on, I think, Takibana, the rookie. So what are your thoughts on this? Because again, I've not rated it. I refuse to rate it because of how injured she was.
Sure. No, and that's just a respectful thing to do because both these wrestlers are terrific. Obviously, we're huge fans of Natsume Shozuki and Kazuna Tanaka. Young into her career, we're singing her praises already. And again, we've talked about this quite a bit because we've seen a lot of injuries, not even in Marigold, but in Stardom as well over the years, especially the barrage of injuries where you're like, Matt, and again, everybody's different. It's a judgment
Saki
call.
Kashima recently as well, Matt. Saki Kashima recently, where she had the foot injury, got taken off, got brought back when she was still clearly injured, and then had to go back again. Had to come off the cards again. So.
And I mentioned that when we recorded the Stardom cast earlier this week, it's like you don't want to rush anybody back in any sport, whatsoever, because then, you can have a permanent injury. And then instead of, they're out 4 weeks, they rush them back at 3, they get injured, and then all of a sudden they're out another 2-3 months. So it's something you don't want to do. It's just something else that and I said it's got to be, you got to look at you have to look at the wrestler, the doctor, and then the person running the show. That's something too. Here's something else too that I'm just thinking about is the wrestling locker room is a brotherhood and a sisterhood. We all look out for each other, whether you like that person or not. And you butt heads in locker rooms and you have different opinions on certain things, and not everybody gets along. But at the same time, you're in the sport together, and it's the sport of kings. The immortal words of late great Harley Race. It's the best sport on God's green earth. It really is. You have to look out for each other. And that's something else too that maybe somebody should have said. And again, we don't know. I don't know how injured she was. I don't know how bad the back was. Nobody really knows but her.
Yeah.
And maybe she wanted to tough it through to show like, hey, I'm kind of catching fire here with this company that's doing really well. I don't want to lose any momentum. And I understand that. And I have all the respect in the world where she said, no, maybe I'm okay. I'm okay. Where deep down, she's really not. But somebody obviously needs to step in again, whether it's her, whether it's the doctor, whether it's, not so much Shozuki, obviously where she did in this match was like, we're just going to take it home. And again, kudos to her, whether it's, Victoria Yuzuki or Utami or Mirai or Nanae, one of the locker room leaders saying something's not right there. And again, I don't know. And I don't like to pass judgment on anybody or anything,
No.
but the main thing is here, she goes for the body slam. And all of a sudden she goes down. She communicates something to the referee. The referee communicates something then to Natsumi Shozuki. She hits the diving knee bomb, safe as possible. So pro to Natsumi Shozuki to take care of Kazuna Tanaka, making sure let's get out of here before it's worse. If she's scheduled to be back in about a week's time, again, we're recording this on the 13th and it's the 20th that she's coming back. So it looked like the back probably wasn't as bad as maybe we're making it out to be. Maybe it's just something that she needed to be taken off the road. She needed ice and heat to kind of compress and contrast, maybe some yoga, and then back. That's basically what it is. Maybe she just needed a couple days off. And again, speaking from somebody that's been doing pro wrestling half their life, and I have 2 deteriorated discs in my lower back, and there are some days just from waking up. Some days I'll be in the middle of running on the treadmill. I'm like, oh my God, it feels like my back seized up. So there's certain days that you have to do more yoga, do more stretching. So that's something that you have to take in consideration for the longevity of her career. But considering the fact that, and again, just knowing this from experience, I just need a day or an hour just to stretch it and then get some ice and heat, and then I'm good to go. Maybe that's what she was doing. Maybe it's like, I just need some ice and heat. I'm okay. And then just at the end of this match, what was the end of her match, the back just seized on her. let's just take this one home, take her off the road for a week, and bring her back. That's my guess of kind of what's happened, and hopefully that's all that it is, because obviously we want her to have a long, long career, because at just the age of 20 years old, she is fantastic. So, yeah, absolutely, Rob. I mean, I totally understand. I don't like matches where wrestler gets hurt. So I understand the not rating of this match, but let's give credit where credit's due. Wanda Natsumi Shozuki carrying her through that, and then that finish, because we've seen her hit those diving knee bombs, and it's like, oh boy, they can be. She made sure she took care of her. And let's give credit to Kazuna Tanaka for toughing it out. But again, if she's back, and I can't say they took her off the road, because she was on the show. Obviously, she didn't work. She was on the show today. She just did a promo. So maybe just something, hey, just can't bump. I'm just going to do some light stretching, kind of warm up the back. But I want to be around the girls, in the Marigold locker room, because that's where she's probably at home. So maybe she just needed to just take a couple days to stretch it, ice it, and heat it. And we'll see how she performs on the 20th. But if I'm guessing, if they're promoting her, I think that she's going to be good to go, and hopefully so. Fingers crossed, my friend.
Yeah, we saw it with Chikagoto, didn't we? With her injury, she was still doing the ring. The announcer was at the start of the show. And the reason I brought this up as I have done is because I've seen a lot of criticism of Rossi and Marigold for, basically putting her in the position that she's in. And, again, we don't know what is going on backstage. There's no point speculating on things like that. But I will just say that for me personally, I'm an incredibly competitive person. And I have played football with my calf that torn that it's basically around my shin. It's literally hanging off. I've got a huge hole in my calf. And should I be playing? God, no, because I can't walk then for 2 weeks. However, especially if the team is in need, I will go and play. Now, is that the manager's fault, who doesn't know how injured I am? He knows I've got a slight, I'm limping a little bit, but as soon as I get out on the football pitch, I'm acting like I'm fine. Is that his fault? Or is that my fault because I'm not letting on how injured I am? Now, again, we do not know the ins and outs of it. We don't know how much Tanaka was injured to start off with. We don't know, whose decision it was to let her out. As I said at the start, again, all of this is speculation, but it does open up an interesting debate in the wider world of wrestling. I'm not just talking about Marigold. As I mentioned, we were talking about it with Saki Kashima not long ago. Ami Sourei is out for the longest time, and it turns out she'd been wrestling with a torn meniscus for God knows how long. So, it's not something that is in Marigold solely. It's endemic across wrestling.
Sports in general.
Sports,
You mentioned you with
absolutely.
what we call soccer,
Yeah.
you call football over there. It's just in sports in general, because we kind of have a pride thing. Now that when that adrenaline hits, you don't feel,
Yeah.
especially if you're playing a championship game, you're like, it's the last game of the season. I'm going to go in there and give it 110%, and I'll worry about the injury tomorrow, because
Exactly.
I won't remember this injury, but I'll remember me, helping my team out to win a championship. So sometimes the ego gets involved and we don't even realize it. Plus that adrenaline. Man, that adrenaline could be your best friend and your worst enemy. You wake up that next morning, you're
Really
like,
can.
oh man, what did I do? But I mean, we got to give Kazuna Tanaka a lot of credit, because she's got a lot of guts. She's got a lot of guts. Bless her.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly. We don't know what's going on backstage. So, it does, like I say, it does open that debate of, whose say should it be? Not whose say is it, it's whose say should it be that, at what point do we say no? Obviously, we don't have the answer to that, because we don't know. We don't know what the state of the injury was, what the state of management is, anything like that. But it opens up an interesting debate. But again, it's worth talking about. And yes, Matt, you're absolutely right. You don't remember the injury. That is until you're trying to get downstairs, and it takes you 25 minutes to make it down the stairs to make a cup of tea, because your calf just does not work in the way a calf should. So yes, again, massive hole in my calf. It's gross. Let's move on then to the Bozilla and Nao Ishikawa match, because this was heaps of fun. I mentioned earlier about how Bozilla and whoever Bozilla is in the ring with, they are able to make what are effectively squash matches very, very entertaining. And now Ishikawa seems to make everything that she does at the moment very, very entertaining, and has really, really good chemistry with Bozilla. Yes, effectively, she gets battered for the majority of this match, but those little pockets of offense right at the end of the match, I don't think anyone truly believed that she was getting a singles victory over Bozilla. but it was enough to get that crowd going. And that crowd was so into Naoya Ishikawa. And again, she was losing a lot of matches. She had that feud with Nanae Takahashi where she lost the passion injection match. People were very vocal in their thoughts that she should have won that match. However, listen to the crowd reaction to Naoya Ishikawa now. Possibly one of the most over people on this entire Marigold roster. Again, she lost here, but I would argue, aside from maybe Utami, I would argue she was the most over on the entire card.
It's an art form to get over by losing, and now Ishikawa has done that very, very well. And I love it how it's like, when you see the graphic come up, you're like, Bozilla's going to run through this person. But Bozilla does a great job being entertaining. For some reason, these Naoya Ishikawa matches, with Bozilla, she just doesn't care. And we saw it in the first Cork and Hall match when she second Nanae Takahashi with Bozilla and Nanae, where the match spills out to the floor and Bozilla's just dominating Naoya Ishikawa's mentor. And Naoya Ishikawa just starts throwing forearms at Bozilla. Then Bozilla throws her in the chairs and now comes back and starts throwing forearms again. Like, now is not afraid of Bozilla. It reminds me, Rob, when she just goes, I don't care. It goes right into Bozilla. It reminds me of that one of the Endgame scenes of Avengers Endgame, where Captain America is the only one left of the Avengers, and he's beaten, he's torn, his shield's broke, and there's all of Thanos' army, the Dark Army. They're all standing up, and Captain America gets up, and he hooks up the shield, and he's like, "Let's go." And that's what Naoya Ishikawa is. She's Captain America, Captain Japan, Captain Marigold here, and she just gets her shield. She's like, "I don't care, Bozilla. Let's go. I'm going to fight. I don't care that I'm outmatched. I don't care there's 1,000,000 odds of me winning this match. I'm going to fight with everything I got." And that's why she's so over. That's why she is so endearing. Obviously, with the Japanese crowd, even with us over here in the United States that don't speak the language, that are watching it from half a world away, like, we're just so passionate, I guess, for lack of a better term, of Naoya Ishikawa and the way she does certain things in the ring. It's why she's getting over as well as she does. And she's going to continue to get like that because she's a fantastic performer and she's a great underdog babyface that is so fiery. Really good stuff. 3.5 stars. Again, by no means was this Io versus Utami, but I just love that, like, she's not afraid of Bozilla. Bozilla's like twice her size and was like, okay, great. Let me see if I can try to knock down Godzilla here. I just love that dynamic. Really fun stuff.
I'm also a big fan of just how over Bozilla is with the Marigold audiences, no matter where it is.
Yeah,
she's always
a heel.
massive. She is a heel. She destroys the roster, and she's literally flipping the crowd off as she leaves, and the crowd love her.
Swearing. Yeah. She's Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody,
potty mouth Bozilla, but yeah, incredible. Anyway, moving on to the semi-main event. Now, I have been full of praise for Naho Yamada, and I think she did a great job again here. Don't exactly know what happened with the finish. Now, I had to watch it back because I didn't know what had happened. I was like, did Naho Yamada reverse that into a DDT? Because if she did, that was really cool. What I think has happened is that Chiaki has gone for the Argentine Buster. And I think Naho Yamada has thought it was more like an F5, so has come off the wrong shoulder of Chiaki. It was a very strange finish. And I had to watch it back, like I say, a couple of times to see what had actually happened. I'm not going to let that colour my opinion of the match, though, because the build-up to this was really, really good. And we talked about how Naoya Ishikawa did a really good job as the babyface in peril against Bozilla. I thought Naho Yamada did an equally good job being buffeted around the ring by Nagisa Nozaki, especially, who seems to have upped her aggression level significantly since the Dream Star. But yeah, another really, really solid tag team outing, Matt, even if it was a little bit of a bizarre finish.
Yeah, you're right. And even the crowd was kind of confused because the crowd was really into it. They were kind of like, didn't get the pop. They got a pop, nothing like how it would have been if they.
I think it's because it looked like a reversal. I think that was the issue. It looked like Naho Yamada had reversed it.
Didn't hit it as clean as they want, or maybe I don't know what they're going for. But regardless, Miko Ano looks like a star here. Yep. Her and Nagisa Nozaki, they had that great Pure White Belt championship match back in Cork and Hall a few months ago. Really good stuff here. And this match is just Miko Ano, just kind of anytime that the Dark Wolf Army is getting an advantage on the young Naho Yamada, Miko Ano comes in and lays the hammer down. But very much on the match the day before with Utami was in the ring. They get the big main eventer out of the ring with some double teaming to eventually just isolate Naho Yamada, which is a great heel thing to do. I mean, you see a 2-on-1 beatdown, where you basically, hey, let's take the bigger threat out for enough time so we can get a 2-on-1 beatdown onto the younger, less experienced person. It's an easy story to tell, and that's what the Dark Wolf Army is. There are the heeliest heels in this company, and they get over actually as a heel. Where Bozil, it's like, is a big bad heel, but they cheer again very much as did Vader, Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody some 30 years ago because they're so cool and so ass kicking. Where it's like Nagisa Nozaki and Chiaki, you will pay money to see somebody beat them. Like that's your job as a heel, and they do a great job. Again, they did a great job on the day before. Again, where they get Utami out, only to isolate Naoi Ishikawa, and they do it here. Miko Ano is your big main eventer. Again, in kayfabe in wrestling, she's your white belt champion. So technically the second best wrestler on this roster. They do enough to get her out of the ring so they can have that 2-on-1 beatdown on Naho Yamada. Simple story to tell. 3.5 stars for me. But again, they are a great pure heel tag team.
They are. And because they are the only heel tag team in Marigold, they stand out as well, which is really good. And this is exactly what we wanted from Chiaki. If you remember, there was early conversations about her and how she sort of felt a bit lost in her character. She has refined that and some in what she's doing now, because she is effectively the Saki Kashima cowardly heel compared to Nagisa Nozaki's sort of bulldozer Natsuka Tora style heel. And I think it's a really good dynamic that they've got going on. Obviously, you add Bozilla to that, or you do until Shinjuku FACE. We'll talk about that next week. Moving on to the main event, Matt. And again, a lot of talent in this main event. Yet it was Myla Grace once again getting the pinfall, which again, huge rub for her. There's a lot of things going around on social media at the moment of aura. Post a picture of someone who has got the aura. I doubt. Yeah, absolutely.
Me and you, buddy.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, put it the wrong way, Matt, but yeah, absolutely. Us. Us. Oh, no, that's the right way. That way. There we go. God, it's confusing. I doubt there is a single person on the Marigold roster who has the aura of the 6 or 7-year-old boy who is giving the flowers out at the start. He was the coolest little dude I've ever seen in my life. And then he posed for that. I don't know if you saw the pose for the picture on Twitter. His pose is tremendous. He's proper like the face of he has posed brilliantly. Like, you've got aura and then you've got this little kid. So whenever you see those things that are going around at the moment, post someone who's got aura. This kid, this 6-year-old has got the aura. That aside, though, fantastic win again for Myla Grace. And again, she seems to be sort of moving her way up that card. And though she's not perhaps on the same level as a Utami, very few people are, in ring, giving her these wins in the main event seems like almost a reward for her hard work that she's put in since her debut in May.
It's so funny to back up just a minute when you're talking about aura. I think I'm going to talk about the combination of Utami and Koki Amare, but you went with you went with the 7-year-old boy. I was like, I didn't see
Amare, Utami, and the 7-year-old boy. That's almost too much aura. That's like there's not enough to contain that amount of aura. Seriously, go back and watch it. It's brilliant.
Speaking of brilliant, this match was absolutely brilliant, and we start with Myla Grace and Misa Matsui, and we get like the high-speed style offense between the two, and then it spills out. And I didn't see this happening. I figured they start off hot, right? You get the great high-speed offense, and then I figured out eventually it'll turn down like Utami and Mirai will start building certain things. But then these two high-speed style wrestlers, Superfly style wrestlers, spill the outside and start beating each other up with an empty T-shirt box from the merchandise stand. I was like, oh. Didn't see that coming. Welcome surprise. I thought that was really, really entertaining. I thought that was really good. But I like how when Koki Amare gets in there, she gets up on everybody, and eventually we see the tag champs break her down, start building a little bit of heat on her. Utami comes in. She starts setting up Koki Amare for big spots and success, very much like we would always see Utami do when she was the leader of Queen's Quest. That when anytime, whether it be an Azumi, a Hina, Lady C, or Sai Kamitani, would be in trouble, she would come in, be the hammer, set them up for success. That's what a great leader does. That's what a great tag partner does. And Utami is second to none in Marigold in any wrestling company, really. So I really like that. How again, Kokiyama is our next big star that we're maybe not even next, the big star that we're real clearly have plans for. But Utami does make sure she does a great job setting her up for success in this match. Eventually, though, we do get some. May Sakurai comes in here and she really our Mirai comes in. She brings the hammer down with some lariats, some excellent stuff. Eventually, though, Team Utami get the advantage back, and we see a three-way Utami submission. Always like it when that happens. Utami and Mirai have some great exchanges where Mirai is getting the better of Utami. It looks like Mirai is going to put away Utami with the mirror Mirai shock, but Utami is able to slip out, hits a beautiful German suplex. That basically takes the two of them out. We get back to Myla Grace and Misa Matsui playing off what they did in the beginning of the match with some really, really good stuff. Myla Grace eventually hits the Michinoku driver onto Misa Matsui that sets her up for the Tornado Potato, Rob Goodwin. And I like how Myla uses the Michinoku driver to set up her opponents for the Tornado Potato. Also, I forgot to mention it in the show before, the way that Myla Grace gets into the Border City stretch, it's different like every match, but these two, it's just like the way she just does it. And I don't like, she goes all over and she blocks certain things and is able to counter certain things. And then just happens to get the Border City stretch in the middle of the ring. I mean, that's a talent on its own. Excellent match. Everybody played their roles really well, but ultimately this was just getting Myla Grace another big win on this to basically push her towards the match that happened today against Natsumi Shozuki for the Super Flyweight Championship. This was 4.25 stars for me, my friend. Again, two really good shows that ended with two fantastic main events.
Yeah, I think this was my favorite match of the two shows. But it is worth noting that the cards were really solid. And again, that reaction from the crowd, it's taken 3 matches or 3 shows, should I say, and it really does feel completely different. It really does. And yeah, again, 2 sellouts in 3 shows is a welcome improvement in Marigold's attendance. Before we go then, because we do only have 1 show coming up on the 20th, and we've already talked about it because it's the Twin Star Cup. Before we go anywhere, Matt Turner, I don't know if you're aware, but there was a little show over the weekend. And that show was... Oh, no, Deadline was the week before, wasn't it? Was it this weekend?
Deadline was the 7th, so this was the Saturday. So, yes. So, there'll be 2. Go ahead. Intro me, my man. Intro me.
It's time. It's time. It's Gaze at Julia time.
Absolutely. It's Vader, Julia time. It's our Gaze at Julia time. We have not 1, but 2 segments because we have to talk about NXT Deadline from this past weekend and the Julia tag match from NXT. So, and they're both main events. So, Julia getting 2 main events. Now, Rob, do you know how this Ultimate Survivor match goes?
I do.
Okay, I'm going to just quick explain to the our lovely listeners of the Marigold Standard that don't understand the rules, which I really like. So what happens is 2 wrestlers start. Every 5 minutes, another wrestler comes out, and then whoever has the most falls after 25 minutes wins and is the number 1 contender. However, if you do eat a fall, you have to go into the penalty box for 2 minutes. What I like about this is if you start out, you do have the advantage of trying to get the fall first. But however, if you're later in, you are fresh. So I do like that. So where's the advantage? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 5? I don't know, because that's really, really good. Because again, if you're 1 or 2, you have more time in the ring, but at the same time, you're taking punishment as if somebody comes in 4 or 5. So it is Julia versus Ren Sinclair versus Sol Ruka versus Stephanie Baker versus Zahara. So Julia and Ren start. We get some fast 2 counts back and forth. Eventually, Julia does get the first fall onto Ren Sinclair with the Northern Lights bomb. Julia is up with 1 point. We do see Soroka come in, and then she has this great exchange, or she comes in number 3. She has this great exchange with Julia, and then poor Ren Sinclair, as soon as she gets out of the box, she comes right in the ring, and she gets hit with the, I believe she calls it the Soul Crusher.
It's incredible.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, you're getting ready to say something. So as soon as she comes in, poor Ren Sinclair, now she's got to go back to the box. So we have Julia at 1, Ren Sinclair at 2. Zaharia comes out as number 4. Zaharia pins Julia with the F5. So now Julia's got to go to the penalty box. So everybody has a point here, except for poor Ren Sinclair. Eventually, Steph Backer, she draws the number 5. She's able to come in here, and she actually pins Ren Sinclair with a roll-up for a 2 count. So once again, she goes back to the penalty box. However, I tell you what now. So now everybody's at 1 point, but Ren Sinclair, right? What I like about this is she doesn't lose any points. She just got to go to the penalty box. As soon as she comes out of the penalty box, she's able to roll up Soroka and gets her first pin. So even though she ate 3 pins, now everybody's tied at 1 point, and there's less than a minute to go, and she's rolling everybody up, and she's getting all these 2.9 counts. You're like, wait a minute, she ate 3 falls, and now she's tied. Now she has the opportunity to win, and the crowd is really behind her, which I like. Eventually, Julia does hit Zaharia with what we used to call the G trigger knee, now known as the Arrivederci knee. So I like that. That was really cool. Julia gets the fall. She has 2. Everybody else has 1. Her and Steph Backer go back and forth. Steph Backer uses the Kuma roll, Rob Goodwin. With 5 seconds left, Julia kicks out. She does roll her up in the Lamahi Straw cradle, maybe even a little fairy magic, if we will, since we're going back here. But the time does run out. Julia does wind up winning 2-1-1-1-1-1. Really interesting match. And again, really, really cool booking that the crowd was in. So now we're going to have Julia versus Roxanne Perez at New Year's Evil coming up here in just a few weeks' time. So they do make mention that on NXT. So this past week, NXT, Julia versus Roxanne Perez is official. Julia comes out for a promo. Roxanne Perez cuts her off, and Roxanne Perez's promo skills is amazing. They do show on the big Titantron that Stephanie Vacker was taken out. So we do get a 2-on-1 beatdown with Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez beating up Julia. Eventually, Kalani Jordan comes in for the save, sets up the main event. Main event is Julia and Kalani Jordan versus Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. We get a big Oedo Tai hate style brawl to start out. Really, really great stuff back and forth. It's all sorts of chaos. Kalani Jordan hits her slingshot, twisting plancha to the floor. We do get some great teamwork onto Cora Jade. Eventually, though, we do see the best friends of Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade building up some heat onto Kalani Jordan. Makes sense because you want your big hot tag to go to your big star, which is Julia. Julia comes in and just runs over everybody. She goes for the glorious driver on Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez slips out. Roxanne Perez then does try for the pop rocks. That gets blocked. Eventually, the glorious driver, it does get hit onto Cora Jade. Kalani Jordan goes for a frog splash. That is a 2 count as Cora Jade breaks it up. We do get the pop rocks onto Kalani Jordan. Eventually, Julia does hit a running Joshi dropkick off the apron because why not take a full back bump onto the floor in Orlando, Florida? Why not? Eventually, though, we do see some double teaming onto Julia that takes her out, and Cora Jade does take advantage. She hits the double underhook DDT onto Kalani Jordan for the 3 count, and then they try to beat down Julia and Kalani Jordan, but Steph Vacker comes out for the big save. So a lot going on there, my friend. She gets taken out, then she comes back. Ultimately, it's just the teamwork of Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. It's a little too much for the makeshift team of Julia and Kalani Jordan, but Julia's booked really, really well, obviously, in NXT, and I just really think that match for NXT Mania weekend is going to be Julia and Steph Vacker. I think that's the way they're going to go. I think Roxanne Perez she should be on the main roster. She really, really should. And I think that Julia is going to win the belt at New Year's Evil. And then Roxanne Perez will probably debut at the Royal Rumble. That's the way I'm saying. That's the way I think it's going to go. I don't have any inside information to NXT, my friend.
Unfortunately not. It would make this very entertaining if you did, but there we are. Sounds like a good weekend to be Julia. I'll have to check out the deadline show. It is on my list of 8,425 wrestling shows that I need to catch up on, and that's just ones I'm not writing books on. But, ladies and gentlemen, that does bring us to the end of this podcast. Hilariously, we thought this was going to be a shorter one, didn't we, Matt? And it's still gone over 2 hours, but there we are, because that's what we do, apparently. We hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Thank you so much for what has been an absolutely tremendous year as well. Not over yet, but just a little thank you for everyone that supported us. It really has been tremendous. Don't forget, you can find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can check us out on social media as well at the Stardom Cast and at the Marigold Podcast as well. Check us out on the website, talkjoshi.com, for all your news, reviews, and all of the archived episodes of these podcasts as well. Patreon.com/the Stardomcast for those that want all these episodes early and ad-free for as little as just a solitary $1 a month. You can talk to me on Twitter if you so wish at Real Rob Goodwin. We are on Blue Sky. We are on Threads, just in case you don't want to use Twitter, and who could blame you? But Matt Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram, on the Twitter, and the Blue Sky is the best way to get a hold of me. If you want to shoot me an email or write a really good Christmas carol, thanks, Steve, you can email me at thestardomcast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another fun 5th episode of the Marigold Standard. We hope you're enjoying all the fantastic wrestling going on from Marigold, because they're absolutely crushing it, and I couldn't be any happier. So it's awesome to see as we head into First Dream. So, folks, we greatly appreciate your support. Can't do it without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because when all together, everybody's different, everybody's special.